I can change a different color too. Come on, yeah. It's too big, right? Yeah. Yes, I need that.
Okay, I got hot.
I'm pretty sure you can change it. I was like, what's the point? Oh my God. Oh, it's really cool.
I'm here.
It was good. Yes. Really? Yeah. This room is colder usually, so it should help, I guess. And it's only 92 outside, so
Yeah, it's pretty good outside.
yeah. So I'm gonna start like walking to school probably in 2 weeks if the weather stays like this and not get worse.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Is this David? Yeah.
Beautifully.
What's your favorite? Is the plate for it or?
Yeah. The play for it.
How we all doing?
Great.
Great.
Yes, the weather.
That was a really sad great.
I mean,
Everything great.
Hopefully I'm not the cause of that.
well, not right now.
Not yet. I'll have to try harder. Everyone's holding up.
No, not yet. Did you do it? There's one question that's stupid, yes.
And it says,
I wanted to like throw
you should tell him that.
Yeah, I told that.
It's cold.
I mean, I would just tell him.
As per usual.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
This is the time of year to start.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's probably sitting with me, right? That's just the back.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, now you get to the camera.
No.
Oh, right, yeah, right. Yeah. So Professor should change it.
So we're on camera line.
Future Twitch streamer.
You?
No.
I mean, I don't watch.
You see me losing the game after game after game.
In all like different languages.
You was in like.
So how do you know plastic?
I
guess. When he
Yeah.
called up Will, like, they
That's bro, what is that? What's that? What is it?
What are we talking about? I don't know.
No, I saw a number.
Yeah.
Yes. SATS. Sats. I don't know what it was. And then I don't know what he did. He's keeping track of shit, but like it's no longer there.
Did you see the Falcon 9 rocket?
Oh, yes, I did. What?
The Falcon 9? The space.
Was that the one that landed at the
So they, in a couple of months now.
Why aren't you not vendor?
So not the fucking heavy.
The Falcon 9.
Oh shit. That's what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be.
You say we're releasing Starlink.
You saw it?
No, it's the aliens coming to take you back to your home planet.
Yes.
I tried like living under that. I saw from Kevin.
Yeah. Like, I got it because like it's Ebra. That's kind of one that's like a full face grass. So it's like a kind of grass.
And I think the rock just comes to the
No.
this side.
So
I think it goes up and then goes horizontal.
each side of it does not look like this.
But it's not like that.
Right, so they outfit to make it look like.
Our whole body of it. So that's like I know. It's rocking sometimes.
So that thing is gonna be out the back, like, so then they kind of like, it sticks up, but so they have to add this back in.
Yeah.
No, I saw
felt
videos
great.
of
I
it.
didn't take
I
part
was
of it,
like,
I had a
this-
Dell
okay.
before that, and I just got
We,
a
the three of us were just cycling around and then we just saw it.
Oh,
Just like,
I did it without instructions.
I mean,
This
it's
is like
more
just
speed.
rookie people.
Yeah, but like sometimes you have to like reprogram the battery. That part is not easy anymore, yeah.
That's not great.
sometimes that is a little bit.
You like have like a really nice.
What was the question?
And then he had those like,
Yeah.
yeah, and then his computer was 50 bucks. It was like.
Oh, a phone tower, yeah.
Yeah, no. Like he had that, and then he like.
It's usually a back.
Alright, I wanna get a quick pulse check from you guys. On a scale of 1 to 5, with like 1 being like I should be in the emergency room and 5 being like I'm feeling super great. I wanna know how you're feeling. If you would like to add a little context to it, you're welcome to, just try to keep it short. We'll go around the room. Does anyone in one of the corners want to start?
When you say like, how are you feeling about what? Just like in general? About
In general, how are you feeling? Scale of 1 to 5. 1, you're in the emergency room about to die. 5, you're on top of the world.
Like a 5 is way too much. I'd say a 4.
Okay. 5, 4, way too
4.
much. Okay. What do we got here?
4, I guess.
4?
2.5.
2.5. Okay. Monitor that.
4,
4?
3.85.
3.85. It's like very specific. You're very in tune with your the way you feel.
Yeah, 4.
4? Yeah.
3.
3. Cool. Okay. Okay. What do we have here?
2.
2.
3. -1.
I'm saying, 5.
5. 3. 3.
3.
3.5. 3. 3.5. 4.
Great. I'm not doing my job well. No, I'm kidding.
3.14.
Mostly.
Change mine up to 2 now?
That would be my line turned into -2.
Okay. Sort of making up for the imbalance there. All right. No, I think you all are doing great. I have no concerns there. I, on the other hand, am a little bit silly. I am going to show you who already like cracked a peek at lab 3. We're in module 3, yes? 3.3? Okay. Did anyone happen to see that I already did the lab for you? It was kind of interesting, but that said, I still want to show you guys the shortcut that I intended to show you guys. That said, let me share my screen. There we go. So allow me to show you guys what I mean when I say that I did the lab for you. In the instructions for the lab, it says to create a path around all of the items. You guys are relatively familiar with the pen tool, right?
Yes.
Consider this my graciousness.
I see.
Because I've already removed the backgrounds and I forgot that Photoshop does this thing where even if you save something as a JPEG, it still retains your paths. The paths are pre-selected for you. My apologies if you would like a little bit of experience practicing the pen tool. Be my guest. If you would like to see yet another way to do this, This is me being really, really precise. This is for a commercial photo shoot that I did. And we needed to remove the backgrounds from the product because they were ultimately going to change the background colors. And I'll show you guys how to do that here in a second. But that said, if I were doing this a little bit quick and dirty, there's a better way to do it. Yeah.
Do you ever use magnetic lasso for something?
Magnetic lasso, not necessarily. There is a reason for every tool.
Yeah.
Have I used the magnetic lasso? Absolutely. But the magnetic lasso actually isn't going to give you, well, it does give you paths. It's just not going to be very clean like this, not always.
Okay.
And it sort of depends on the background that you're using.
Okay.
The nice thing about how I've set this image up, let me,
Like if there's high enough contrast between your subject and the background.
correct, yeah, that is helpful.
Yeah.
Sometimes you won't get that luxury and that happens. Sometimes I would say probably most relevant for all of you, you guys are going to be working with an external photographer. I'm the whole bag, baby, so I can create my own photos. Sorry, now I got to get rid of my selection. There we go. Sorry, I got to move Zoom now. There we go. So when you are getting photos from, let's say, a photographer, let's say you commissioned a photographer to help you create images for your website, you might be given what you're given, and you might need to do some of the edits. In a real scenario, hopefully the contract was written well enough that the photographer knows that edits need to be made before they deliver them to you, but that's not always going to happen. So sometimes you might need to remove a background, and if you're doing something for a high fidelity image that's ultimately going to land on a website, you're going to want to take the pen tool and go around. Thankfully, I've given you an example so you know what to expect. Again, I do encourage you guys, take a crack at practicing that. This is a great image to do that on because there's a lot to do, right? So I do recommend take a crack at using the pen tool to trace those around. And it works just like Illustrator, okay? So you're not learning anything new. However, I've mentioned that I wanted to show you guys a trick, okay? No, it's better than that. How can you do quick selection, magic wand, anything like that, but not have to touch it for every single image?
Object selection.
Nope. We've already done it once in this class.
Yeah.
You guys know.
Remove the background for me.
You guys resized images using this.
Yeah.
Actions.
Oh.
You
So
can set up
spend-
an action to do this. So, that said, I've got my actions panel already pulled up over here. I'm going to, and this specifically works if the background is already white. Okay? So, a lot of you may end up having to use stock photos sometimes. And those stock photos sometimes, a lot of times, come with a pure white background. So this becomes really helpful if you have to do what's called batch processing on a lot of stock photos at one time. And I've had to do this a lot in my career. So that said, I'm going to create a new action. Just hit the little plus button down there. Let me see if I can get that screen a little lower. Nope, I can't. Sorry, deal with it. And then I'm just going to name this white background removal, okay? I specifically name white in there because if I did this for a black background or any other color background, anything other than 6 Fs, I would need to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and hit record. And then I'm going to go to select, color range, and I'm just going to eyedropper the background, the white background. You can adjust the fuzziness a little bit. Notice that if I add some fuzziness, it's going, anything that's in white is included in the selection, anything that's in black is excluded. So you want to adjust this fuzziness to a point where you're not seeing any of the detail within the product. So you might need to Just like get yourself in there pretty close. I'd say right about there, 37 looks pretty good. This might be a little different for each photo, but this is going to get you close enough, at least for the images that I've given. Okay.
This works when you have different whites, like on the subject that you're having. Like for example, the book is slightly off-white, on the product also it's just like slightly off-white.
Correct.
If you do have like pure white on the object itself, then you're gonna have an issue. Then you're gonna have to like select it and then
modify.
remove that selection from it.
Thankfully, I'm nice to you guys, but yes, if your product has any pure white in it, which is, who did the Lightroom exercise? A couple of you guys? Why is it that I had you guys keep the histogram inside the range? Anyone?
Because you could just change the contrast far enough and then.
So it actually relates to this lab. If your highlights go outside of the histogram, what are you doing?
You're just going away.
You're clipping the highlights. Or in other words, you're blowing the highlights. And what you're getting there is you're getting pure 6F, right? From the hex code perspective, pure white. So why I'm having you guys keep that histogram slightly inside, not much, but slightly, is so you don't end up with that pure white. You can always add a little bit more white later. Let's say that you did have to remove that background on a product. You don't quite want it to be pure white until you've removed the background, and then you can add more white later. Same goes for the black. If I'm shooting on a black background, again, I want to be retained within that histogram so that if I'm shooting, I can control the color of that background because of what? The inverse square law. We learned about lighting as well, right? That way, when I go back in to retouch it, I can run an action like this, quickly remove the backgrounds, and then come back in later and say, okay, contrast up. Yeah.
Would you add to the black or whitening a different layer later on the road?
Not necessarily. I mean, I would add a new contrast layer within Photoshop. I can go over that in a little bit, but or even the way that I would do it is with levels. But I'll show you that in a sec.
Sorry.
Yeah.
In this, like you said, you were gracious enough to give us like a pure white background. If
Yes,
you were doing
you're
a
welcome.
photography thing, it would not be a pure white background. You'd have some sort of light texture to it, right? Or
You should have a pure white background. A good photographer is going to know that your background needs to be pure white. That is what, so I actually have some images that I'll figure out how to share here in a second of me running a studio. And oftentimes when you're in a studio environment, particularly for product or even sometimes outdoors with lifestyles, you have what's called a digitech, a digital technician, someone who's sitting there running a program called Capture One, or sometimes in janky studios, it might be Lightroom. And what they're looking for are those little things. Sometimes the photographer themselves have to be the digitech. The way that I run it, I always have a separate person running digitech. That way nothing's getting missed. But the reason that you have someone literally checking the histograms and looking at the levels and things like that is so that you make sure that you always have that pure white background and that your product isn't clipping. That's what you're looking for. So in the studio, when you're shooting it, you are going to have clipped highlights, but you're also looking at the levels on the product and making sure that you don't have any specular highlights that are over pure white. That way you can run an action like this and it works. It also works for transparencies. So I've sampled my background. I've set my fuzziness to about 37, maybe 35, 37, something like that. It's going to be different depending on the photo. I'm going to hit OK. And notice that I've got my little marching ants back here. It's a little small, but you guys can see that? Yep. Now that I have that selected, all I have to do is come over here. There's this button that if you hover over it, it should say layer masks. Boink. Oh no, I did something wrong. My background is gone. or I'm sorry, my product is gone, but my background remains, right? All I have to do is make sure that I have, so there's two boxes here on one layer. One is the image, that's the one on the left. One is the image mask, okay? All I need to do is invert the image mask. So what I have here is I make sure that the image mask is selected, not the image. Command or Control I. Background removed. I'll hold for applause. Thank you. Now, there's an important part to this. You have to make sure that you turn off the action. Otherwise, it's just going to continue recording. Okay? So make sure to turn that off. And now I'm going to undo that. All of it. There we go. We're back to the original. Okay? Now I'm going to come up here to File, Scripts, Image Processor, Save as PSD. I'm going to uncheck JPEG. Okay? I'm going to use Open Images. I already know where it's at, so I'm going to save it to the same location that I opened it in. And I'm just going to hit Run. It doesn't look like anything happened, but something indeed did. I'm going to File, Close All. Don't save. Don't save Beyonce. Then I can come over here to my PSD files, open all of these, and if I did my job right, which doesn't, oh, what did I do wrong?
You didn't run the action. I
didn't run the action. Oopsie, it's okay. We make money in this industry by how fast we can go, and sometimes we go too fast. So this time, I'm actually going to run it without anything open. Okay? I'm going to go to Scripts, Image Processor, and this time, instead of running it with open images, because I don't have any, I'm going to go and find them. I know that they're in my downloads, it's in my background removal folder, and I'll just pick the PSDs, because why not? I'll keep it checked as PSD. This time I'm going to run an action. And let me figure out where I saved my action to.
Maybe on the second one. The last one, no?
Yeah, white background removal.
Yeah, and default actions are at the
Is
bottom.
it in there?
All the way.
The last one.
Last one here, bottom.
Oh, it's not showing up on my end.
It's there.
I know, it's showing over here. It's not showing on my screen. Oh, well, there's your problem. I have a text box in the way. Thank you, Zoom. Yep, Zoom's in the way again. Sorry, guys.
You can just drag it up a little bit and then.
There we go. So now I've got my white background removal selected. Hit run. I'm not doing anything. Okay, so now that's done. I can open these. Backgrounds removed. Cool? Hold on, I have to stop sharing. Okay, one more time. Thank you. Okay. You guys are a fun crowd. Now, I mentioned that after we've gone and we've removed the images, we can do things like adding a levels layer. Okay, did everyone see how I just did that? No. Let me do it again. I have my layer 0 selected. Down here, there's this create new fill or adjustment layer. Okay, it's a little tiny icon. It's a circle that is only filled halfway. Right? I selected that, and you have all kinds of different adjustments. Who's used Photoshop before? A couple of you guys. Let me ask you this. Raise your hand if the way that you normally would make adjustments would be come up to edit. Sorry, I don't even do it this way anymore, so it's hard for me to remember how to even do this.
Image adjustments.
Image, adjustments, levels.
Yeah.
Who would have done it that way? Yeah. Guys, this is bad. No, it's bad. Once I show you this, you are never, ever, ever going to go back to doing this the old way. This is what we call destructive editing. When you edit your image this way, what happens is, as soon as you're done editing it, you cannot go back and change it. And I don't know about you, but as a designer, sometimes I edit something and then I go back to it 2 weeks later and I'm like, ooh, who was that designer? What was he doing? Because this is bad. And you might want to make some changes, right? So get in the habit of using non-destructive editing, okay? Cancel, come over here, use these levels. Notice what it did there. It added those levels as a whole new layer. So if I come in here and I'm like, yep, looks great. Done. And then excuse me, I'm a teenager again. And I come back to it later and I'm like, you know what? I don't like the edit that I made. I can just come back in here and be like, whoop, whoop, problem solved. Okay? Now, part of the reason why I had you guys run the Lightroom exercises so that when you do get to these levels, you kind of know a little bit of what you're looking at. Should look familiar to those of you who do that exercise, yeah? What is that? It's a histogram, right? So that said, can anyone tell me what you're seeing in this histogram?
Highlights, shadows,
Yep. So what side are the highlights on?
the right side.
Highlights are on. Yep. Highlights are on the right-hand side. Shadows are on the left, right? So what's going on in this histogram? There's a huge peak in the highlights, a little bit towards the mids. I mean, really, if we're looking at this holistically, there's a huge peak in the whites. It dies out a little bit. You have a little peak in the highlights, the mids have a little bit, and then the shadows are dead, for the most part, right? So, it's really hard to see, but that highlight doesn't actually clip. Otherwise, we would have removed it in our background, right? So what I can do is I can just come in, and Ansel Adams had a theory, which Ansel Adams did landscape photography, that's not commercial. But I think it's a good principle, is that every photo should have a pure white and a pure black, okay? Contrary to what I told you guys in the Lightroom exercise. So now's our opportunity to do that. We can now come in and we can tweak this down ever so slightly. It really doesn't need that much. Probably 254 is all it needs. It's like one off, okay? And then here, let me see if I can make this any bigger. There we go, okay. So now you guys can actually see what's happening because I turned on what's called clipping. So now if I drag this down, we're clipping a little bit in the label there, but that's okay. I want a little bit more out of it. I'm just gonna drag it down one. Yeah, that's good now. We want it to be 254, okay? And then I can do the same thing on the shadows end and just drag this up until we get right about to the edge of the histogram. Now we have at least a little bit of pure black and pure white, okay? Any questions on that? Yeah.
What happens if you leave it on the edges?
You end up, I mean, if you leave it on the edges, you just end up with the original photo that you had.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. This could be a stylistic choice. There are some brands that want, let me actually pull up an example.
Alright, I just didn't fully understand what dragging it in did.
Dragging it in brings the blacks
Okay, to the histogram.
to the histogram.
Okay.
Yep, so you're actually starting to get blacker blacks and whiter whites.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, you might make a decision art directively or creatively to not do that. For example, when I did this shoot, you can kind of see in there that the blacks aren't quite black. right? They're pretty dark, but they're not black. And this was, oddly enough, this company wanted this like really light and airy, almost stock photo-y look. And I mean, I don't know, I think I filled the brief, yeah? This might be one of those instances where maybe you don't want a pure black, right? So you might make a decision to then not only lift the blacks, but then also control the midtones a little bit. So here, this is kind of like an interior product. I think most of us like our interiors very light and refreshing and airy. I might choose, as the art director, to come in here and just lighten this up a little bit. Okay? So we did that. Unfortunately, the cool tricks that I have only apply to removing backgrounds, although you can use actions for several things. I've found really good use cases too. Oh, I can make an action for that. So, especially if you guys have large amounts of images that you have to go through, try to think about, could I make that an action? Because you'll save yourself a ton of time. Or even, can I break these out into segments that I could then run actions on? Okay. Now, this image originally had a black background. Originally had a white background. I actually want to find this one. This one's a good one. Let's say that I wanted to change the background. I could then come here, again, non-destructive editing. I could add a solid color. What color do we want the background? Green. Green. Problem solved. Now, I could also come in here and I could say, and also this is a really shit way to make a drop shadow, but I'm going to do it kind of quickly. I can go to filter.
Add the layer into it. Drop shadow.
You're right, it is under layers. Layer. This isn't the way I normally make.
If you triple click on the layer, you can do it faster.
Yeah, there it is.
Where is it?
Inner shadow, outer shadow.
At the end of drop shadow.
Drop shadow. There we go. Ta-da! Now I can control the opacity of that shadow, the distance of it. I can control the direction that the shadow moves. Something like that. Maybe the size a little bit. I can make it look more like hard lighting or soft lighting. Right? So there's all kinds of things that you can do. Now, this is admittedly not the best way to do this, right?
Yeah.
If you look really closely, you can still see some white around the package. But just to give you guys a little bit of an example, if you guys were to use, let's say, the pen tool, which I've already graciously given you, you're welcome. Select it, and then do your mask. We're a little tighter there, aren't we? A little bit better. So that's where sometimes if you're moving quickly, let's say you did get a photographer who didn't quite shoot it on a white background. Doing the quick and dirty, if you just need to replace the kind of white background with a lighter white background, the method that I showed you before would be absolutely adequate. But if you actually need to go in and replace the entire background, kind of like this, make it green, make it black, you might need to get a little bit tighter and use the pen tool instead. So it's good that you know both ways. Okay? Any questions?
Can you do that again? Can you show that?
Which one?
The
pen tool?
The pen tool.
So you guys all know the pen tool by this point. You're probably tired of it. So I'm not going to spend the time going through and actually pen tooling each of these, but I already have the paths in here. Your guys' has it too, because you're welcome. I'll be changing that next semester. Warn the future generations. Here, what I'm doing is I'm holding Command. I'm selecting the path, and then I'm coming back to my layers and just adding a mask. That's it. Yeah.
So in the beginning, when you were removing the background, there was something that you were tweaking with the fuzziness. What does that control?
Good question. So let me go back a little bit.
Yeah, just adding to that, wouldn't that be the aspect that you control to reduce that white background that you have?
One more time.
Towards the end, when we drop the shadow,
Uh-huh.
the issue that we had is that you had like a white profile around each object.
Uh-huh.
If you control the fuzziness, you're essentially controlling how much.
Is selected.
Yeah.
You're confusing fuzziness with nope. Feather. I'll show you feather. So sorry, I'm trying to get rid of this background.
Because I was saying if you change your fuzziness, you kept it at 37.
Oh,
If
I
you
see.
change it to like, I don't know, 50.
So the fuzziness is only controlling what, how do I say this? Let's just do it. It'll be better visually. So here I can go to select, color range. This is where the fuzziness is important.
Yeah.
You're not actually selecting items, you're selecting a single color. Okay? So when I select that color, what the fuzziness is controlling is how much white it is collecting. So
On the image.
really what the fuzziness is doing is it's saying, okay, you selected white, pure 6F, right? Now I'm adding 37 this direction towards the dark, right? Not adding any color. I'm just sort of expanding my gamut, so to say.
So you have one picker, color picker there. There's two others that I see, plus and minus. What are those?
What do you think those do?
To add different types of colors.
So there's some quick keys to access those. Shift will give me my plus eyedropper, and option? Yeah, option gives me my minus
So
selected.
you can add multiple.
So let's say I wanted white and red.
Okay.
Doink. Notice that my selection looks a little different now. So that fuzziness is now factoring in both the white selection and the red selection, and now it gets messy, and this is annoying. So here we just want the white. I encourage you mess around with the fuzziness, okay? Till you feel like it's gotten right. Now, Taran, what I think you were probably addressing is this. There we go. Under the selections, you can do what is called feathering. And feathering, modify, feather. This is actually super, super helpful, but you have to know the difference between feather and contract, okay? Here, what I've done is I actually inverted my selection. I did that by doing Command-Shift-I. So right now, if I go to my mask, it does what we did before, where it removes the item. But if I do Command-Shift-I again, now it's going to remove the background, okay? All I did there was I inverted the selection. So here, what is selected is the white area, right? Because that was what we eyedroppered. Whereas if I do Command-Shift-I for invert, Command-Shift-I for invert, it's inverting that selection, okay? So if I have now my items selected and feather makes the selection go out a little bit, we want to contract it so that we lose that white a little, right? Yeah.
In another image, I think like 2 over or something,
Mhm.
I noticed that like some of the item was selected assuming that there's pure white in it. So if you lowered the fuzziness, is it possible that it won't select that part of it?
That's exactly what you want the fuzziness for. So
Okay.
before you dial in the fuzziness, I would recommend choose something that has a lot of white, right? So for example, what you're pointing out, and I even did it wrong technically in my exercise here. This guy right here,
Yeah.
notice how I kind of removed the product?
Yeah.
If I were to come in here and add solid color, make it black, move it to the back, notice that that doesn't look too good, right? This is where rather than me doing the selection the way that I did it, I've already come in and I've that's a little better, yeah? So you can control several things in there. That said, I think this is why it's important, still take some time to recognize what the pen tool does. Give me 1 second, let me show the feather and
We can just contract the selection, right? We don't need to feather it out.
you don't want to feather it,
Yeah.
depending on how you have it selected though, because you can achieve the same thing both ways. So here, right now I have the items selected. If I have those items selected, then I want to contract. I can go to modify, contract. We'll do 2 pixels. We don't need that much. God damn it. All right, never mind. Right now I have the white selected. I apologize, guys. It can be hard to tell, right?
Yeah.
So now I can come down here and I can go modify. Now I actually want feather, right? So that's 2. We'll do the same thing. What am I getting wrong here? Oh,
But we can also do expand selection if you selected white. It's gonna do the same thing.
well, feather and expand are doing slightly different things. Feathering is kind of giving it a little bit of a fuzziness
Yeah.
so that it's a little softer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas an expand is literally taking it and expanding it. Okay? Questions?
Sorry, it's adding fuzziness, but then it's like confusing the other fuzziness.
Yeah. Don't ask me why they come up with the names they come up with. I didn't make them, I just teach them, okay? That said, I really encourage you guys are all at a point now where you kind of know what each tool does, right? Give or take. Go and this is your time to mess around. Okay? You can't break it. All you might have to do is go back and redo something, right? So my recommendation is get it done, then go back and retry it, okay? Any questions? Yeah.
Okay, so would an easier way, instead of using the pen tool, would be just use the magic wand and then lower the tolerance? Because
So-
for some of the photo, it's like edges really straight.
So the magic wand is actually an extremely imprecise tool. You are not going to get, frankly, even just clicking remove background up at the top is actually cleaner than using the magic wand. The magic wand in the last 2 to 3 years has been almost depleted, just depending on the type of selection you're trying to do. Consequently, there's also now like select subject that can sometimes do what the magic wand used to do. I would actually say that if you're going to try to do a shortcut like that, using the magnetic lasso actually would be a better approach, although still not as good as the pen tool and not
That is the magic wand.
and not as bad as the magic wand. Yeah, it's like you kind of have to choose your degree of how precise do I want to be today. Also, there comes a point where economics start making sense in a slightly different way. The output of my studio tends to, when we have a photo shoot, we're not delivering 1, 2, 3 images. If that were the case, I would be removing backgrounds in-house. Instead, the point at which I'm at is usually delivering several hundred images with removed backgrounds because we can produce that quickly. And those are individual products. It's not several hundred images of one thing. It is, we're doing several hundred products a day. And at that point, you have so much to go through, and I don't know about you guys, but my time's really expensive. I can get these images processed in, no matter how many images there are, I could have 20,000 images. Granted, that would be expensive. But I could send them to India and have them processed in 24 to 48 hours, backgrounds removed, and yeah, it's expensive, but I get back a really good product because that's all they do 24 hours a day. And they make good money doing that. And also, I'm going to charge my client for that service, right? So I'm not losing money. It's built into the cost. So at some point, you have to address, okay, how many images do we have? How many backgrounds do we have to remove? Great, it's gonna cost us how much time? It's not gonna be economical for your client to have you remove 10,000 image backgrounds. That's just unrealistic.
You said this was a destructive way of doing it?
The way that I showed you is non-destructive.
Oh, this is non-destructive.
The way I showed you is non-destructive. But if you were to go to image, adjust layer, yeah, that would be destructive. So you don't want to do that. If you're going over and you're adding an adjustment and it creates a new layer, that is non-destructive. Because you can go back and edit it. Edit it.
Yeah.
There we go. Any other questions?
And then another one. So back to the image where the bottle thing.
Mhm.
So if you would take the photo and then if you change the background and then it's transparent, do you also change the little the see-through or you just leave
You
it?
can.
Like would you do it though? Like it's like for example if you would do this commercially, would
Absolutely.
you change it by default or you would only if the client asks you?
I'm gonna do a really shitty job at this just because one, I have an audience, and two, this actually takes quite a bit of time. But yes, you can adjust the transparency. The way that I would do it, I would actually spend more time going through defining which areas are opaque versus which areas are transparent.
So you the pen tool it?
I would pen tool it or select it, just depending on how dirty how quick and dirty I'm trying to be. But let me add a layer.
How much you're being paid to do it?
So what you're addressing is right now I have a black layer and you can't see black through the bottom,
Yes.
right? So I can double click on my product layer here and you see these blend diffs down here. If I hold Option, click the black end. Nope, sorry, I had that backwards. Option, hold the white end of the blend diff and drag it down. See how it's getting a little more transparent? You really have to dial that in. This takes time. There's no other way around it, really. But that's sort of a really quick way that I could do it.
So based on my understanding, so you would mask the elements you don't want to change. It only let's say just mask the bottle, and then you just change that and tell you
Correct.
it's working.
So those opaque layers like the label and the reads, I would want those to stay fully opaque. I wouldn't want those to be affected by the blend diff. So what I would do is I would select those with the pen tool if this were a real product image. I would I would create a new layer with those so that I can separate the adjustments that I'm doing, keep the reads and the label as a solid 100% fill, no blend diff. And then the layer below that has just the bottle transparency selected, I would adjust that blend diff so that the
Transparency comes through.
correct. And I was careful not to use the word transparency though, because you don't want to adjust the opacity. Opacity and blend diff are doing different things. Notice that the specular highlights here are staying in place. Those are artifacts of lighting that don't retain when you're just adjusting the opacity. So for example, let me show you what it looks like if I just adjust the opacity. So see that versus that, totally different result, right? So that's where the blend diffs, what it's doing is it's saying, blend whatever the highlights are into, it's sort of separating the highlights and the shadows and it's blending the midtones more actually. And you can control blend diffs in several different ways.
So based on my understanding, the entire workflow is you basically have to pen tool it out. There's no way around it. And after you've done that, and then you can set up the blend diff, and then then you can change different backgrounds, and it just slides stuff like that.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And frankly, if I have a client with a lot of those really clear bottles, those are getting sent to India. I don't like spending time doing that. But if if I need to, I can. But also, what's important for you guys to know, because I would like to think that especially teaching you guys at a master's level, I don't want to teach you guys how to become production artists. That's not my goal. I want to teach you guys how to become art directors. I want to teach you guys how to become creative directors. People who know how to do this, but don't need to, right? Because you need to know how to do this in order to be able to effectively direct a team and say, hey, I need this bottle to look transparent, even though we're changing the background. Also, think about how much time this would save you on a photo shoot. If every single product needed a different colored background, are you gonna sit there and reset the set for every single product with a different background color? Hell no, that's gonna take you way too much time on set. And if you know anything about working on a photo shoot, things move fast and shit is everywhere. And I mean everywhere. And one of the biggest photo shoots I've ever done, we had 275 products that we had to shoot in one day. And someone get a calculator, let's do the math really quick. Usually a photo shoot day is about a 10-hour day. Someone divide 275 by 10. I went to design school. 27.5. That's 27.5 products every single hour. Let's divide that by 60, see?
40, 4 something, 4 point something. 4 point,
27 divided by 60.
sorry, by 60 is 0.4.
0.45.
So every half minute, every 30 seconds, give or take, you are rotating out a product. So what that means is you have, and mind you, these products need to look great. So what you're doing is you have someone, I'm going to use this table as an example. This is your product table. It's got a white piece of paper that comes down, and someone, the camera is usually on a stanchion, big stand, shooting down the lane here. Someone's literally sitting down here. There's an assistant with a table full of products over there, and they're just passing it, and someone's putting it up, styling it really quick, moving it, putting it up, styling it, moving, and it's just shot, 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 shot. So when you're moving that quickly, you can understand why having someone like a Digitech is really important. You can understand why having an independent photographer is really important. Having a stylist is really important. And then having an assistant might also be important. That's also not factoring in any lighting changes. Also, something to think about too is how do we stack the shoot?
You order it based on what products you're using?
No.
Not necessarily.
What do you mean by stacking?
So, what order in which are we going to shoot these photos? Because if the photographer needs to get through 100 products in a day, you're not going to stack that photo shoot in a way that every shot you got to move the lights. So you're not going to set it up by product. Let's say your website product needs 3 different types of images, right? Maybe it's a straight on, maybe it's a top down, and maybe it's a back, right? Well, maybe that front and that back shot might be able to get done in like quick succession, right? So maybe it's front, back, move on. But that top down shot, you have to physically move the camera. The lighting might stay the same, but you have to move the camera. The angles change, everything changes. So then, imagine having to do that 100 times in a day.
Why you set up 3 cameras?
You could do that, but then you have to monitor more things.
You get but then you get another person monitor that, then you're sorted.
But then you're spending more money.
Yeah, but you're talking about efficiency, right? So you gotta get through it fast, right?
But if one person can do it, and you're gonna have to move things anyways, it makes more sense to move the product than it does to move the camera.
Because
Depending on the subject.
in my head, I just think like you're gonna factor in human error when you're trying to position the camera from like a top-down shot. And if you just set up the camera to be in that position, you're gonna get like a uniform shot all across.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So you get all of your straight on shots first, and once you're done with that, move the camera to the top down. And then get all of those shots
That
done.
would work if you have interior setup. If it was an exterior setup where you are factoring daylighting, then you're gonna have your top-down images at a different time of day than opposed to the ones that you take in front. So like
Not necessarily, but that's why like a lot of product images, if you look at them really closely, they're not done outdoors.
Right.
They're done in a studio setting. Lifestyle is a whole different ballgame. But I mean, even those, you can have stacked shoots where it's model in, model out, product in, product out. Quick change, like things don't move slowly. So if you guys are all sitting there on a set, trying to like, oh, what are we doing? What's the next shot? You're gonna be out of there faster than you can blink. And I have had photographers kick me off of the set because I didn't know what was going on. So you gotta be dialed into those things. And photo shoot days are not days to mess around. There's a lot to be done in a very short time. Yeah.
So in that case, like another reason you don't want like to have like a two camera and like one person manage two cameras is that if you miss something, it's critical.
Potentially. And also sometimes what you're working with is, metadata. And sometimes the way that the metadata lines up and the way that you shoot, there's an order. It's called a shot list. And oftentimes the Digitex are copying the metadata from the shot list so that when they're added to repositories of thousands of images for large companies, hundreds of thousands of images for pretty large companies, you can easily type in search. That is what metadata is for searchability. And so if you're running two cameras, then and don't get me wrong, I've been on shoots where we've ran several cameras at one time. It can be done. It's just another layer of logistics to think of. Personally, I don't like running shoots with more than one camera or two at the most, because there's always a principal photographer on the set. If you're running more than one camera, there's always a principal photographer. So if you're running two cameras, you actually need three photographers. So your cost increases exponentially. And these are just, if you guys want to learn about business decisions, take GIT 550. That's a whole kit and caboodle.
Is that why in the bonus assignment you ask us to put the job number, stuff like that? So
Yeah.
you can search that.
Correct. So when I was working at PetSmart, we lived and breathed by job number. We knew exactly the projects that we were all on just based on the job number. And we had job codes. So for example, if I was working on All Living Things, my job code the number would always be 3 digits, because usually we couldn't cycle through more than 999 projects. So 3 digits was good enough for us. And if I was working on All Living Things, which was one of our brands, our job code would be ALT 12345. I'm sorry, 123. And we would know what projects we were on because I managed All Living Things. I managed Authority, so ATH. I managed Arcadia Trail, ACT. So we know these things instinctively because we have to move quickly. Everything in this industry was due yesterday. That's just how it works. Okay, we're good on background removal. You're welcome. That said, I want to talk very briefly about our project. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at the groups? For quick reference, here they are. There's a lot of them. Identify which group you're in. There are 24 total. There's 2 separate columns. There are people online and in class. Okay, so you may not know some of these people that you're working with. That's okay. I cannot stress this enough. Take your time with these. Genuinely read them. These things are getting published. And even as a reviewer, your name is on it. That is your name going out into the world. make something you are proud of. That said, we also have a name for the journal. We actually ran a couple of them today, and we landed on none of these. I'll have to look. I don't remember. I'll leave you in suspense on. So familiarize yourself with what group you are in. Start reading. That's a good place to start. Okay. Really quick, does everyone know how to make suggested changes?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show you. Hassan, I'm going to use yours because I already did.
I think you gotta scroll up, I think.
There you are.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. So I'm going to change my account really quick. If you want to make a suggested change, the first thing, and I apologize, my face is in the way, as is customary. Right under here, I don't know if you guys can see it, but can you guys see that okay?
Yeah, it says editing.
Here it says editing, you need to change this to suggesting. Okay, if you don't do that, you are overwriting that other person's work. If this happens, don't panic, you can go back into the history and change it, but then that person's track changes are going to be lost, and you're going to have to go back and redo them. Okay, so that said, make sure to change that to suggesting. Then what you can do is say, come down here, below the author's name, add your name. And I believe I say the date in there. I'm just going to put my name for right now. Notice that it's written in green. Yours might be a different color just because as more people contribute, the color changes. This is what you want. Because then as the person is going through and looking at the edits at a later date, when we go to actually get these things edited, they can decide whether or not they like your edit and they can just approve it and it'll be done. Okay? That said, if I want to change something in line, you can actually add it in line, and if that person decides that they want to accept that change, all they have to do is, on their end, it looks a little different. They just have to click the little checkbox, okay? Really quickly, who can tell me the difference between an art director and a creative director? Anyone? They just do the same thing? Yeah.
Well, I think creative director is like a bigger direction than art director, or is it the other way around? Is one of them manage high level stuff?
It depends.
Oh.
There is one distinctive defining difference between a creative director and an art director.
Does a creative director defines like an overall theme, art director is more focused on specific items?
In some companies, but not exactly. Guys, a creative director knows how to fucking write. That's it. If you see a really good ad campaign out there that has something sort of cleverly written, chances are that came from a creative director. If it just looks pretty, it was an art director, right? That's why I'm a creative director. I'm clever, right? That's
Can you say that all creative directors can be art directors, but all art directors can't be creative directors?
I would say that is true, which is why creative directors tend to be a little bit higher on the hierarchy. Because, that said, some creative directors only write and don't do any of the visuals. So it really depends. But the defining difference between a creative director and an art director is the writing. And if you can both write and design, you're setting yourself up for really good success in this industry. Okay? It's not enough just to make pretty things. It has to be pretty things that make sense. And I'm telling you right now, ChatGPT is great for ideating. It's great for coming up with concepts. But if I see another paper that starts with, in today's modern world, I'm gonna kick a freaking puppy, okay? There are some telltale signs of artificial intelligence use. I've already looked through some papers and I found some. Look for those things. This is your guys' job as the editing group of these papers. It is your job to find these. And again, it is your name going out into the industry. Okay? This journal is not anything, it's not a fart in the wind, as I like to say. So, take it very seriously. If you guys have questions, I'm happy to help. I'll continue supporting each other. I'm going to remove my comments. Sorry, Hassan. Another thing to note about commenting is you are going to very quickly add notifications to the other person's email. I would maybe recommend someone do a really quick Google to figure out how to turn off notifications on Google Docs, because you might get a lot of them. You might want to turn those off. That said, as you guys are, let me share my screen again.
There was a question online.
There's a question online. We still edit our own essay if I found mistakes. Yes, Rosalind, you may edit your essay if you found mistakes. This is a working document. For the most part, everyone got 100% on the first one because we weren't able to do the peer reviews. Those grades might change depending on the feedback that you guys give in this section. So your peers are actually giving you your grade, not me. Okay? Let me show a little bit more about that. Sorry, I should have been more prepared. Give me a sec. How am I doing on time?
About 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Okay. Chat box is always in the wrong spot. All right. You guys are here. Modules. Okay, here's the Module 3 project. There is an additional component, so it's this Google Forms scorecard. It is broken out into several sections. Let me try to pull up the larger one. Sorry, I could have had all of this pulled up before class, but I get to hold you guys hostage for a while. That's okay. At least we like each other. There we go. Okay. Your guys' form is going to look a little bit different. On my end, this is what it looks like. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you for your email. The only reason I ask for this is so that I can tie it back to who created it, and so that you know that you did it. I think I set this up to send you guys automatic. Once you guys finish the form, it's going to send you your responses. I'll double check that I have that set up. You'll also enter your name as it appears in Canvas. Okay. Also write the author's name. Okay. Whoever the author is that you are reviewing, that's who you want. You should have two. You don't need to review your own. Okay? Obviously. There are some checks and balances in here. It is going to ask you if you read the paper in full. Also, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this for a reason. Your name is attached to this review. When this gets published, your name is included as a peer reviewer. Okay? All right. Then there are several questions, mostly designed to prove to me that you actually did read it. Okay? Submit the link to the Google Doc that you reviewed. This is so that I can cross-check that you actually did review the correct doc. Okay? What was the designer or artist's name that was reviewed in that paper? Or that was written about in the paper? What are some of the key words? There are minimum word counts. Okay? And I want you to explain the relevance. That way I can actually see that you guys did a little bit of external research outside of what this person already wrote. What is the relevance of each of those pieces? What's the historical context? Again, me trying to make sure that you're not just reading it, but that you're actually comprehending it. Okay? Evidence and sources. Checking the evidence and sources. There's a couple of things that I want to make sure that you've checked. One, do the links actually open to real places? You have no idea. Is the source something that is academically sound, right? There's a broad definition there, okay? But by and large, what I'm looking for is the source reputable? I see a question.
When we're describing like the historical context, do you want us to like cite it too?
No, you don't need to cite it. All I'm looking for is, I know most of these artists myself, maybe not super deep, but well enough to be like, that's bullshit. So just keep that in mind. I talked about evidence and sources, yeah? Yes, I did. Okay. Personal insight. What do you think? Right? Literally, that's it. Just give me a synopsis, the TLDR. What did you get from this? Okay. Visual integrations. This is me just asking. I'm asking you to describe how one image was inserted into the document. Remember, I think you should have, was the requirement 5?
Yeah.
You should have 5 images embedded in your document. I'm just asking you guys to sort of synopsize one. Then, this is the important part. This is the scored criteria. As of right now, everyone has a 100% on the Module 1 project. The results of this are going to change that. Okay? So, that said, your peers are going to grade you. Literally. You are going to go through and you're just going to make sure that the artist and the designer was on the approved list. I can pretty much verify that everyone's was. Just do me a favor, double check, okay? Make sure that the Google Doc is correctly named and was shared with can comment permissions, okay? If not, you all are welcome to reach out to that person and say, hey, I'm not able to access your document. Can you please change the permissions to can comment, okay? Verify the word count. I'm going to show you all how to do that really quick. You can just go to tools and
Word count.
Word count, second one.
yep, second one right here, word count. All you need is this one right here, 1405, okay? So you want to verify that. You want to answer how many images are included in the document, right? Hopefully we're here or here, okay? But if not, document it accurate. I run formulas for all of this. Or the images of high quality and high resolution. This is not factored into the grade all the way because there are some of you guys that reached out specifically about certain images. So I want you to know that what you choose here might vary. And that might be okay. Do all the images within the document contain captions and citations? Okay, that's an important piece. You all are pretty capable of reading, so I'm not going to go so much further, but one of these needs to be filled out for each of your guys' reviews. Okay? There are a lot of questions, but you only have to do 2 of them. Okay? So read the document, answer the questions, problem solved. That's it. Any questions?
Where is this link again, sorry?
It is in Canvas. So right here, all the instructions are spelled out. Here's the Google Sheet that has all the peers in it. This is that Google Forms scorecard. The documents are in this link. Okay?
Twice when studying peer review, or you have the separate panel for the same.
So you would submit 2 of the forms, 1 for each peer review. Okay? Yeah.
So I think when you had just made the peer review thing, I think someone already put suggestions on there, but she's not part of the new Google Sheets group.
She's not?
She's not part of the
Ignore. So earlier in the semester, I sent out peer reviews through Canvas. Ignore that. That was a Not even a first attempt, that was an experiment gone wrong.
So should I just delete them or like tell them to like?
You don't even need to bat an eyelash at those. For whatever reason, Canvas does not allow me to withdraw those. Horrible design flaw. So I would love to fix that, but I literally cannot. So I apologize, but just ignore those from module 1. These are your actual peer reviews. These are what will contribute to your grade. Yeah.
My name is not mentioned in the Google Sheet.
Oh no!
Even mine.
Let's talk after. We might need a special group.
There's one more, you're fine.
Did you guys submitted Google Docs, correct?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, let's talk after, and I'll make sure to put out a call for anyone else that might be running into that. We're good? Have a wonderful day. And if you're watching online and you're not on the Google Sheet, please reach out to me. That way I can get that fixed.